Have you heard about the massacre of Deir Yassin, whereabouts in Gaza being considered for 16 years the world's largest open-air prison, with the death of about 700 children in Gaza these days? You can search on these terms or check my sources in the description. And now, let's unfold the story. The Ottomans ruled over Palestine with Ottoman population records of 1878 stating at this time that 87% were Muslims, 10% Christians, and 3% Jews, and things were peaceful between them. But some of the Jews, especially in Eastern Europe, felt that they needed to escape the pogroms and other persecutions there. And after feeling that they were being mistreated widely, Zionism emerged from its godfather, Theodore Herzl, followed by the First Zionist Congress held in 1897 to spread Zionism between the Jews. Balfour's declaration by the British government in 1917, which the Arabs called a fateful promise, from those who do not own to those who do not deserve, which called for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, to gain the support of the Jews, although Jewish people made up less than 15% of the population there at the time. And in fact, that declaration wasn't the only promise the British had made, as they promised the ruler of Mecca, Sharif Hussein, in 1916 that he would rule over a big Arab state, including Palestine, if he led an Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire, which he actually did. In the years 1932 to 1935, the Jewish population of British-ruled Palestine increased a lot, and that huge influx led to a lot of violent encounters between the Palestinians and the British troops, as well as immigrant militia allies. So, Britain limited the immigration of the European Jews, but that was late, as the Arab Revolt began in 1936, which was the first violent uprising of the Palestinian Arabs against the mobilizations that were happening to them, and their desire to be independent of the British regime. The British declaration to divide the land and the continuation and uprising of the Great Arab Revolt, which continued till 1939 and was violently repressed by the British. The British then began training and arming Zionist militias to suppress the rebellion.
Partition of Palestine and 7 months of deliberation by the United Nations and 2,000 years of political homelessness for the Jews.
UN partition plan. That looked like a jigsaw puzzle. Britain handed this problem to the United Nations, so they proposed terminating the mandate and partitioning Palestine into 2 independent states, one Palestinian Arab and the other Jewish, with Jerusalem internationalized. That was an unfair land division to Arabs that wasn't only giving a part of the land to a foreign intruder, but also a Jewish state or more than half of Mandate Palestine, at a time when Jews comprised less than a third of the population at this time. The year of Nakba, or the catastrophe in Arabic. Britain announced that they would retreat from the land after feeling they had had enough of that conflict, and before the British army left, the Zionists had already developed some militias that began massacres to move the native Arab inhabitants, not only from the land given to them in the United Nations partition, but also around Jerusalem to separate it.
We never expect to be massacred. It was a black spot in the history.
That history has been carefully concealed, purposefully distorted, and in the West, largely forgotten.
And that is when the most famous massacre of Deir Yassin happened and induced a huge fear among the other Palestinian villages.
To this day, the archive of the Israeli army refuses to release many of the images and intelligence reports on Deir Yassin. But one UN report detailed circumstances of great savagery, including women and children stripped, lined up, photographed, and slaughtered. Roughly 100 people, largely children and the elderly, were killed in the village. As for Dawood, he later reunited with the group of Deir Yassin captives in Jerusalem, including his sister and mother.
My mother says, "Where is your Uncle Radwan?" He says, "He was shot." "Where is your grandmother?" He said, "He was shot, and Umar was with her." So everybody has a commotion, you know. Where is Fatima? Where is Ibrahim? Where is Maryam? Where is David? Where is Ahmed? Where is Ismail? I'm a dream about it.
The day before the end of the British Mandate, Israel declared its independence. That caused the beginning of the first Arab-Israeli war by the neighboring Arab countries, Egypt, Transjordan, Syria, Lebanon, and expeditionary forces from Iraq, which led to the loss of the Arab United Forces, and more Palestinians being killed and forced out. The year of the first Intifada, which means in Arabic, shaking off. Shaking off of Israeli oppression, engaging in non-violent mass protests that often turned into violent clashes with Israeli security forces. This Intifada led to the Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, which allowed the Palestinians to self-govern in the West Bank and Gaza, and established the Palestinian Authority as the government of those areas. Israel agreed to withdraw its security forces from those areas, and in exchange, the Palestinian Liberation Organization recognized the State of Israel and the right of its citizens to live in peace.
I came here to the holiest place of the Jewish people in order to see what happens here and really to have the feeling that how really to move forward. There was no provocation here. The provocation was only on the other side.
Ariel Sharon staged a provocative visit to Muslims as he visited Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, accompanied by Israeli police. This led to the Second Intifada, and in response, Israel re-entered Gaza and the West Bank, ending the post-Oslo status quo and constructing a reinforced security barrier. Israel temporarily withdrew from Gaza, and Hamas took over the Gaza Strip after a long fight with the United States-supported movement of Fatah in a funded civil war. A year after Hamas won the elections and took over the entire Gaza Strip, Israel has sieged Gaza for 16 years. That siege was so severe that it was often called the world's largest open-air prison. Even the Secretary General of the United Nations has described Gaza as hell on earth. Trades are restricted, the health sector is in crisis, with medicine depletion, and electricity and food are limited. And life in West Bank wasn't that rosy either. Even though there is no Hamas there, the occupations and building of new settlements have continued there until now. The number of outposts, which are settlements, that were established in the 1990s without government approval and are considered illegal according to Israeli law itself, reached 144 outposts. And not just that, there were many attacks on the Arabs there. In 2014, according to Human Rights Watch, Israeli forces killed 43 Palestinians in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, as of October 31, including unlawful killings of protesters and others who posed no imminent threat to life. To be clear, Hamas was a terroristic movement. I saw a lot of disturbing attacks from them on our Egyptian armies in the early 2010s and their brainwashing cartoon Tomorrow's Pioneer.
شايلة ايه بين احضانك يا ماما مكاني لعبة ليا او هدية جايبها لي طب ارجعي يا ماما اوام كنت شايلة ما بين ايديكي لغم مكاني دلوقتي بس عرفت ايه كان اغلى مني.
But as we praise the Ukrainians who are defending their land, defending their dignity, defending their freedom, we should praise anyone doing the same. The dying citizens are not terrorists. The dying women and children are not terrorists. Well, I hope that this video has given you a broader view of what has happened to the Palestinians and how they are often mispresented to you on purpose by the Western media. Thanks for watching and consider subscribing for more awareness videos. Goodbye.